So I first met Karen actually in this room at our very first Wisdom 2.0, and you were sitting in the audience.
Yes.
I still remember this. And I think we met briefly then, and I believe you've been to every...
All but 2017.
You missed one, 2017.
I missed.
Okay.
Mom dying was more important.
That's right, that's right.
And so I was where I needed to be, but I was here in spirit with you.
Totally.
Yeah, we watched together on live stream.
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
okay. So, and I know some people, it's interesting, there's a number, half the group here has never been to Wisdom 2.0, so I'll say more about that later. But we do a bigger kind of annual conference, which you're all welcome to, usually in late February every year in San Francisco. But I've gotten to know Karen, and one of the kind of beautiful things I think about Karen is there's this balance between being like super smart and super intelligent, and also really human and really caring and really like lovely. So I'm really excited to be able to interview you for the first time.
I know, I'm usually in your chair and somebody else is here, so.
She helps us also with our interviews. So the focus today is leadership and new leaders and how we can kind of revision that and look at that. And I think you're unique in the sense that you are a leader within Google, but you also kind of work to support a lot of leaders and make sure that the leaders are getting the support they want and they need. So I thought kind of an interesting kind of place to start would just be like, what are your thoughts? Do you see yourself as a leader? Do you walk into the office each morning and like, okay, Karen, you're a leader, you need to lead this way? Or like just like, how do you see that whole world in perspective?
It's an interesting question, and the concept of identity has come up today. And do I see myself as a leader? I do. And I do because I have a lot of responsibility, and I take it really seriously. And I feel like one of the things that's important when you're a leader is to own the seat that you're in order to take that responsibility, and at the same time recognize that you are not the seat that you are in, and the seat it's a gift, you know, it's and so to stay humble and at the same time own it. And so I was a consultant doing executive coaching and OD consulting and HR consulting for most of my career. Google was a client of mine, and for 6 years. Wow. And then 8 years ago, I decided to try and kind of the internal view and see what that was like. But even before that, I ran 2 consulting firms, and so I saw myself as a leader then. And I think when you have responsibility for other people's, you know, livelihood in the case of a consulting firm, and now for setting the direction for a team of people who have a really important job and role, it's important to take that leadership responsibility seriously. But I think I don't walk into a room and think leader, hope I don't walk in leader with ego as much as leader with responsibility.
Great.
Yeah.
And what are some of the challenges you see, because you work with so many different leaders across Google, like are there particular themes or challenges that a lot of them are facing that you see and can find some support around? Because I know it's very engineering focused, nothing against engineering, but there are probably a lot of people who are very ambitious, so there's probably certain qualities that are kind of a part of that culture. So how do you see yourself being a support to them?
So if I string together the time that I spent doing executive coaching across industries and now the time that I'm trying to figure out how I and we can support our leaders at Google, there are a lot of common themes, because at the end of the day, we're just talking about humans trying to get things done with and through other people. And it's been interesting listening to the series of conversations that you've invited up here today, because a number of both the areas where people stumble and the kind of keys to unlock the next chapter have been really referenced today. And one of the ways that people stumble is relying too heavily on what's worked for them in the past. And we all sort of know this, but it's actually really difficult as a human when something has helped you be successful to then give that up for the unknown. Like all your cells are saying, go with the familiar and go with what has worked versus something where you're not going to necessarily be very good at and you don't actually know what it feels like. So that kind of what got you here won't get you there is absolutely true. And yet when you see it in practice, helping people decide to unlearn what they have learned before or to build some new skills can be really challenging. We see this also when people join Google from elsewhere later in their careers. When they're used to work happening a particular way or certain norms and cultures, and then they go, whoa,
that's not how we do
where
it.
did I land? And of course, in some ways, we're just like other companies, and in other ways, we're really different. And so watching people try to unlearn old habits and accept new ones. And some of the ways that people are able to do that is by thinking about like going on an archaeological dig. And they'll say, I'm going to get curious. So they'll call on their curiosity as a way to understand why things are the way they are and manage their own reaction to them. So I see people getting stuck when they try to rely on their old habits, and it's a really human thing, but it's really difficult to overcome. I see people getting trapped by their own fear of failing, and that's particularly true when they become successful early on in their careers.
Yeah.
And when they've been successful, either because of their own efforts or because of the environment that they're in, or the combination
Luck
of the
or
two.
skill, doesn't matter.
Right, and when you put luck and skill together, it's almost worse. Because then you can't help but believe that the success has something to do with you or the way that you are. So then it becomes really difficult to hear feedback. And I would say both giving and receiving feedback are critical skills as you progress through your career. And you don't have to call it feedback, but actually being able to hear what I'm doing today isn't the kind, if I personalize it, the way I'm leading today isn't the kind of leadership that the team needs going forward. I have to be able to hear that and take it in, and yet not take it in so far that I'm broken, but take it seriously and figure out what I'm going to do with that. And if I'm withholding feedback from someone, I'm not helping them move forward. Right? I'm actually doing them a disservice.
So let's say, and I would put myself in the shoe of somebody who has a hard time receiving feedback.
I saw you with Byron Katie. You
okay.
Took it.
I have moments.
Okay.
How do you navigate that? So if I like Karen, I'm not somebody who's necessarily knows how to do that, or what are some kind of skills that you might support me with that would allow me to feel safe? Because it might think it's a safety issue. Like, well, for me, I grew up in a very conservative, not to get too much of myself, but I grew up in a very conservative West Texas town, and I often felt, we didn't go to church, and a lot of the other kids went to church, and I always felt a lot of judgment from the community because they would tell us you're going to hell and you don't believe in Jesus. And so I was always like really careful, and I was always like, no, I'm different, I can do this, like I can get out of here. So I kind of used a lot of self-talk, I think, to kind of like be like, I can do this, And so I think sometimes when I get feedback from the community, it's always because of that imprint. I have that same reaction to like somebody telling me I'm going to hell, even though they're not telling me I'm going to hell. So I have that, I bring that into my world sometimes, and I'm trying to be more aware of it and realize like, okay, this is just my conditioning. But so if you're supporting somebody who's trying to open up that avenue of feedback, giving and taking, are there particular steps that you would walk that person through? Because you can't give them too much feedback.
I would, yeah, exactly. So in terms of helping someone think about how to give feedback, I think that it's important that they're self-aware enough to know what their intentions are with the feedback. And usually when people are giving feedback, they actually really want to see the other person be more successful. So if I were giving you feedback, if I had something to share, I know where I would be coming from is to help you be more successful. But I have to make sure that you know that. And so one of the things that we often don't do around feedback is we don't say out loud what we're trying to do with it, what our intentions are. And so I might say to you, I know you want to run really successful events that help people transform and that help people connect. And so I might say to you literally, I know that's what you're trying to do. And by doing that, I'm letting you know that I get what you're about and I want you to be successful in that. And I might even say, and I love that mission and I want to help you make that happen. So I'm letting you know I'm committed to your purpose, your mission. And if I'm thinking that you might have a tough time hearing the feedback, then I might say some of the things that I really believe in about you as a person. You know, you really get people, you're observant, you're thoughtful, you're a really careful listener. So I see those things about you. And I think you're getting in your own way in a couple of ways.
Okay.
So then I'm going to just tell it to you straight, and not try to cushion it, but to say, so I believe in your mission. I believe in you. So you can trust, I hope, my intentions at that point. But now I'm worried that you're not going to get there, or you're not going to get there as effectively as you can or as you want to, because there's something I think you might not be seeing.
Yeah.
And so then I can go on and tell you what I think the thing is. And by doing that, I've reduced, I hope, the story that you might tell yourself about what's coming or why or what my intentions are, and so that you can hear the piece of feedback as an opportunity for you to be as successful as you want to be. So in terms of the giving feedback, it's narrating it enough, not softening it or pushing it, but narrating it enough that you can put it in the context that someone is more likely to hear it.
Beautiful.
And sometimes I'll use the language and I'll say to someone, if I were you, I would sure hope that someone would tell me this. So it's not easy to say, but if I thought that someone wasn't telling me, like, I'd be hurt. And I'd think they actually weren't on my side. So I need you to know I'm on your side. And I want you to know this. And I have to say, of a whole career of giving feedback, it's been hard or easy, but I've never regretted any piece of feedback I've given. Because once someone has it, they can take it or leave it. But then it's theirs, and if they do want to take it, and if my feedback is accurate, then they can run with it and do something with it. So I think but it involves, you have to check yourself first about your intentions, and then provide it in a way that someone can hear it. There's some tactics, like, is this a good time for us to talk about this? And give the person a chance to decide the timing, particularly when there's a power dynamic. If someone is, if you manage someone, you give them some choice about time and place at least. Makes it sort of stabilizes a little bit the situation. In terms of receiving feedback, I think the advice I would give is breathe, sort of seriously. You can slow down your heart rate. Recognize that receiving feedback puts you in a heightened state of some anxiety, no matter what, no matter how successful you've been, and sometimes especially if you've been successful.
Yeah, I think anybody who's like, I've got feedback for you.
Right,
Instantly,
the word is
like,
oh. And so trusting that, this is just information. It's just information. And if we continue, any of us, in whatever roles we're playing, if we continue exactly as we're doing our jobs today, and we don't evolve, the path that will take us down is probably not one of success, right? Exactly what we're doing today means we're not adapting to what's around us. It means we're not growing. It means we're not adjusting and flexing and evolving as people. And who wants to live that way? So feedback is one of the ways that we can choose to adapt and grow. And but breathing, taking it in, trusting the intentions, or if you don't trust the intention, ask about the intention, or check in on, are you aligned with what I'm actually trying to accomplish?
Right. That's beautiful.
Yeah, so there's a lot you can do.
And so do you try to support that at every level in the Google?
We try to teach.
Because my guess is that's not a warm, comfy, safe place for a lot of people who are used to being in charge, or who are used to kind of commanding in a certain way.
So we absolutely.
Or are people open to it more than?
Well, I think it's a feedback-heavy culture. People rate their managers, they rate their senior leaders. All of those results are shared publicly.
Wow.
If you're a vice president, your feedback scores are shared publicly across the company.
Wow.
So there's a lot of feedback. You get peer feedback, and in some ways, we've had some newer senior leaders join, and they've said, wow, this is a lot of feedback coming at me. But those of us who've been there a while, you become, you're not just used to it in a complacent way, but count on it. Like, I need to know where I'm going to need to course correct.
Yeah.
And the only way I'm going to find out is if people tell me. And so, in a sense, we have a culture that's open to it, but we also really try to teach people, the kindness and compassion around how to share feedback, how to be constructive. You don't criticize the person.
Right.
There are respectful ways to help someone learn and grow, and there are disrespectful ways to do it. So let's choose the respectful path. And certainly, with people who manage people, it's a critical component of those relationships.
And is that one of the characteristics, because I'm sure you've seen different leaders where it's really worked for them within the Google world or outside of the Google world, and there's people who it just hasn't worked for them, and I'm sure there's multiple factors in that, but is that, or are there other key factors that kind of determine whether that leadership will be satisfying and productive for that person, or whether it will feel like a burden and a chore?
Yeah, if they're not interested in hearing feedback, it's going to be a really frustrating place to work.
Okay.
For sure.
You'd probably say life would be a very frustrating place to be, too.
Yeah, but I think this is one of the places where our culture is a little bit high on that scale. We also see the company just changes a lot. We're growing fast. We're changing regularly in response to the market, in response to what's happening in the world, in response to being a different size. When I first started consulting there, we were 1,200 people, and now we're 85,000. Things change a lot.
Wow.
And you've got to be adaptable.
70,000 more people, or something crazy. Okay.
Wow. Adaptable and flexible, and really be able to not get your sense of identity too much from your org structure or the number of people who report to you or where you are in the system or where your office is or that you have an office. It's a lesson in humility in that sense, as well as you get excited about what we're trying to do as a company, and you get excited about the mission, you get excited about the team's vision and inspiration, and then you just hang on tight.
Okay.
And try to get stuff done.
And how do you stay, because it seems like things need to be taken very seriously, but also things need to not be taken very seriously.
Yeah.
Because there's always some drama or not use the word drama, but there's always, my guess is if you open your email, there's always some conflict or some issue that somebody has somewhere. And they need something from that. And so I'm curious, how do you balance that place of like, wow, these are really all important issues, and none of this really matters? Or can you go back and forth with those, or how do you see yourself navigating that? I wouldn't say none of it matters, but like a perspective around it,
Right.
Like we're going to live and we're going to die.
Right. And most of what we do is not life or death. Like in my world, nothing that we do is actually life or death. What we do does affect people's ability to be their best selves and people's sense of success and accomplishment. Like it has meaning and impact, but it's not life or death. And most of the crises, in quotes, that hit my inbox are not actual crises by kind of a life definition, but it matters to someone. So I think the balance that I try to strike personally is not responding or reacting with anxiety or with an overdeveloped sense of urgency to something, but at the same time taking seriously that if someone else is at some level of anxiety or need or something's going on, that it's important to acknowledge that. And so it's that balance of, at the end of the day, we're all just in jobs.
Right.
Right? But we also are trying to do work that has meaning and that has impact and that makes a difference to somebody else.
Yeah.
So we can choose the things that we spend our time on and my team hears me say regularly, if I find myself doing something and I realize it's actually the equivalent of picking up a stack of papers and moving it to the other side of my desk, I just won't do it. That's not meaning.
Yeah.
And so choosing that balance, and I think that's where, and this has been a theme through the day, that self-awareness, meditation, that kind of knowing yourself, knowing your own responses, and having a group of people around you who you can check yourself with, those are strategies to keep your head on straight, stay sane.
And what gives you the most satisfaction in a day? Is there a piece of that that's just like, this is why I do this work, or this is why I...
So I firmly believe, deeply believe that people have the capacity, we all have the capacity to grow, change, evolve, and develop. And that requires motivation. Mm-hmm. Like you have to either be scared of something or excited about something or both to do that. It requires often some support along the way, some resources or ideas or tools or safe place, and it requires some reinforcement to continue it. And but there's an unlocking that happens when someone figures out a way to move forward that they hadn't thought of before, or they realize that something's possible for them, that there's a way for them to grow, or that they can. I had a coaching client years and years ago, long pre-Google, who had really serious and deeply rooted anger issues. And I still remember the day that he came racing into our coaching session, and he said, Karen, I figured it out. And we talked about what to do when he started to feel the impulses around anger. And he said, I wrote down all those things, and I put them in my back pocket. And then I started to feel the feelings, and I knew what was in my back pocket. I knew what to do. And so I was breathing, and so he had his whole series of things he was going to do. And it was this unlocking, because what that enabled for him was being able to bring himself to work rather than having to hold it like this. So watching someone grow and then figuring out how to design the system around that, if you will, is super exciting to me. And I think one of the many things I love about my job now is I get to do that at an individual level with some people, and I also get to try to help our team do that at scale for 85,000 people.
Right.
And so that's really powerful.
That's really challenging.
Really exciting.
So we're just about out of time. Is there anything you want to leave us with that you feel like we didn't cover, or that just feels like a message on this topic that you feel is wants to be highlighted? Or
So I've been listening to the conversations up here today, and it strikes me how much more important the how of leadership is than it ever has been. It's always mattered. But the what stays constant, and Josh introduced the why into the conversation also, but the what stays constant, but the how becomes so much more critical, and you enable the how through self-awareness first and foremost, and then being open to the possibility of working in a different way. And so I think that's what's so critical now, is helping people access that, to be able to bring their best selves and be the best leader that they can be, or the best person that they can be.
So with the how, can you just, like the how, I think I know what you mean by the how, but the how is it the presence and the embodiment It's
the presence and embodiment. It's also, Jeff talking about compassion. It's Josh talking about gratitude and enabling others and seeing them. It's about listening. It's about respect and inspiration.
Beautiful. Thank you. That's great.
Thanks.
Our time is up, but thank you so much.